Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to Fallout New Vegas. Today I'm in a weird position where this episode in particular may just be a little bit shorter and maybe ended a little bit abruptly. And yeah, that's definitely not something I generally expect from when I try to make these pre-recorded episodes, that the whole point of them being pre-recorded is to avoid situations like that. Yep, our weight is down low. Wanted to make just sure that I had properly sorted out all the inventory. So we're going through this Cave of the Abandoned, which it definitely feels like if there is green smoke coming out of this, then there is some higher chance that things are just going to spawn out of it. What I think this game is trying to do, and is that just a dog or is that a stuffed dog statue? Why would there be either? Seymour. Interesting. It is a named stuffed dog in a game that otherwise has no dogs. It's funny, the audio is popping in and out. And then our perk is taking all these destroyed books I'm picking up and converting them into blank magazines. It's a nice perk, but it does create a weird situation where you just otherwise would have just discarded the burnt books or not picked them up in the first place. Now you're being encouraged to hold them, and by being encouraged to hold them, it's taking up more space. Anyways, what I was saying was, I think this game wants more of that scenario where you get halfway down a path and then enemies would spawn all around you, and then it would just be an all-out dogfight. The Courier Mile in particular was very much that. It was just an arena with a bunch of irradiated death claws and marked men. Of course, every time it feels like right now, like something should spawn and attack me, and it doesn't, I have to question whether that is because I'm playing on very easy and I'm just not spawning enough enemies, or if I just caused all the enemies to run towards me and outside of the spot where they really should be. That's usually not the problem you run into. Like, you usually aren't in a situation where the enemies can run so far from their spawn spots that you can't even recognize where their spawn spots are. There's an audio issue starting here too. Compare what we're hearing here, which is just music and battle music that I'm basically triggering, versus, say, the psychos in Borderlands that are gonna intentionally yell and scream at you as they're running towards you. Yeah, and most games very much have enemies that will yell and scream at you and try and get your attention audio-wise as much as visual-wise. Whereas these guys are basically silent. You'll get a few sound effects from death claws as they're inches away from your face. And the other enemies I imagine make some other sounds too, but it definitely isn't enough. And if it was going to be a case that you didn't want to pay voice actors to make monster sounds and attack sounds for the random NPCs because you've blown your budget paying for famous voice actors to make lines of dialogue that are even in themselves repetitive for all the human NPCs, the other non-combative human NPCs. I guess you just can't fall down these holes. I was thinking maybe you were supposed to go down there, but I guess not. That seems a little inconsistent because I definitely feel like there's been other holes you could fall down. Hey, let's turn on the flashlight while we're at it. But yeah, if you don't want the enemies to make sounds, which they really should, then you need to have the player make sounds. Just like they're coming, get ready. The stealth suit is about the only thing that does kind of make sounds when you are seeing something, and stealth suit does it pretty annoyingly. Yeah. Yeah, and you would think if you could see this, you could crawl in there and there would be something, but there isn't. Undoubtedly, I guess the thought is that this was going to be a difficult fight. And we're seeing these auto docks in a few places, and the Ulysses is saying that the auto docks woke up because I brought some kind of device, some kind of electronical device into the area. And so I wonder if... Did that switch my bullets? Yes, it did. I wonder if whatever I did was actually supposed to be a good thing. Blood packs are pretty useless. You can't really even turn into a vampire or a werewolf in this game. This whole building's in this mess. Yep. So, yeah, I'm still leaning to the thought that Ulysses, maybe the Burn Man, maybe just Carter, maybe that is both, that is the same character, and then something happened that nearly killed him, and then the auto docks put him together, and he's now just a machine of some sort. Like cyborg. And we're gonna get to Ulysses' temple, and it's just gonna be a brain in a jar and some kind of large conversation piece. Unfortunately, my concern here is that we've only really got 5 more things to do, and it's going to try and make some kind of argument that I should run back through the whole game. But I just don't think I'm going to actually do that. If I don't find all the Ralphie pictures, so be it. All the Ralphie posters, so be it. If I don't find all of Ulysses' logs, so be it. Just show what the experience is very naturally going to be. And sure, there will be some people that even on their first playthrough may just opt to use a walkthrough, and then they would have a slightly better experience, but most people won't. There's still way too many books for these kinds of scenarios. And that's a case where when you have a whole bunch of books like this, where perhaps it would be better to just say, based on your scavenging ability, you found 1 usable book out of 10, instead of having it just be a direct interaction in which you're just tapping the A button over and over again.
next week on Ralphie the Robot's Incredible Odyssey.
Ralphie, hurry! If mean old General Winters catches you, you'll never make it home! No! Ralphie, fly far, fly fast!
Tune in next Saturday for the exciting conclusion, only on Vault-Tec Channel 9.
Eddie? What are you doing in here all alone? And who left these old videos playing? Come on, let's get you into your recharge bay. We've got a big day tomorrow.
So Vault-Tec had TV stations is the most interesting thing about that. So apparently you're trying to find your way home. Don't worry, I won't let any mean generals get to you. Just exhaust us. And I guess we'll have more of these fairly pointless conversations. And see, the Ralphie thing here, I guess, was supposed to be triggered by this poster. Supposed to find 9 more of those. But I could see a lot of players not even seeing the Ralphie poster and just walking through an area. And I wonder if that short conversation is just supposed to be a brief respite before we load into this, and we're then immediately talking to somebody else.
That building falling deep in the divide might have been your work. Wouldn't kill you. Maybe close. Knew you'd survive, but no need to go any farther. You've brought me what I need. That machine with you, sealed in the Hopeville silo. Needed someone to unlock it, bring it home. Now the signal's strong enough. No need for you to carry it anymore. I can call your machine to me.
Let's go with it. He's not going anywhere. We've become attached to it.
You gave it a name. What was it to you? Companion, slave, weapon, all of that. Nothing compared to its primary function. It's a messenger, like us, and it shares our history. If you feel its loss, remember, you could have turned away at any time, gone back home, and none of this would have happened. But you had to make one last delivery, and that's why I knew you'd come, courier. Couldn't stay away. It's who you are. The machine you brought is mine now. It's coming home. I'll reduce it to parts, just enough to function, to be aware of what's happening. What's inside that machine, that's all that mattered. All the machines here, made of wreckage from the divide, and all that was brought here. Inside its frame, it carries the message you brought here, and it'll do what it was programmed to do. Whatever it can to get home. The giants here will listen to it. I'll bring the divide to your home, your nation. Let its flag burn, just like you let the divide burn. Big Mountain Access Code, Ulysses. Command override. Navarro.
So Ulysses has seized control of Eddie. You've lost Eddie as a companion, and everything he was carrying has been transferred back to you. You've also lost the perks. And we've gotten a massive amount of XP. We've got some more of these flares going up. Now in this case, losing a companion's not as big of a deal, because let's just be honest, there wasn't going to be a lot of help in fighting from Eddie, not compared to some of the other characters, but obviously Eddie is very useful for other things. Let's see if we can blow that up from this distance. Might even be wrong about that being a nuke sticking out of the side of the wall. Does not seem like that will work. I guess that's probably not a nuke. Doesn't matter, it's not going to work. Do we see any other nuke heads around? You see, there's only a couple more locations. What would have been irritating is if that was actually the end of the game and all of these locations were lies. So I guess this is supposed to just be a chase sequence. Let it all end, it says here. Yep. This is a Go Rescue Eddie chase sequence. And I could see a situation where you would have been over encumbered by getting all the items that he had. I could also see a situation where I just immediately become over encumbered. In fact, it happened slightly faster than I even thought it was going to be in that case. So, do we play the rest of this section? Let's see. Now's the real danger is I'm going to be over encumbered, and it either I get to the end of the game and it's going to take longer. I might just end up pausing the recording instead of ending early, because there is just this problem. I don't think the game really intends for you to just jump down. Not that you couldn't. At least on very easy. Who knows what the real situation there is as far as people playing on higher difficulties, though. It might very well be a case that fall damage is tripled or quadrupled. So, yeah. Personally, I think of Eddie as a companion as much as I think of Rex as a companion, as much as I think of any of the other companions as companions, because inherently they all are fairly dumb NPCs. Let's just be honest about that. They only wander around and kill things from behind your back and carry stuff for you. They have some small companion quests, which I think are particularly great. See, at this point I think the expectation is to jump out that window. The marked men have proven to be incredibly boring as enemies. The death claws are difficult, but not particularly special. The tunnelers, would say, have added a new element to the mix. So at least there's something somewhat intriguing about them. There is a great example of sound effects there. I heard a couple of footsteps and then it hit me. And then I heard my character go, oh. And yep, that nearly killed me. I really don't get Ulysses' whole deal, though. It really just still feels like it's 2 or 3 stories all attempted to be merged together. I hope I don't get stuck over here. I assume all the duffel bags are here to just show that there was a lot of Legion and NCR people, probably NCR people more in the area. And yeah, I just think the crafting is broken on itself completely anyways. There's just no amount of crafting ingredients they can give you that will make it matter. I saw 2 red dots. Maybe the laser detonator will be the final gameplay. Maybe we will set off 9 nukes all at once, fighting Ulysses. Let's see. You'd think, yeah, if you made a new Fallout game, you can make a new Pip-Boy, and the Pip-Boy could at least make a noise when you've been detected. Clearly the game knows when you've been detected, because it will tell you you've been detected and to take caution. If you're crouched down and hiding, I just saw, as of this recording, a new update has been added to Starfield, and that showed some gameplay of Starfield, another Bethesda ZeniMax company, which, you know, looking at the logo in this game, when it's spelled ZeniMax, it's Z-E-N-I, then capital M, then A-X. Zeni, to my understanding, is a form of currency, maybe not used these days, but used to be a form of currency. And so the entire company is literally named Maximum Profit, which I'm sure shareholders enjoy a pun like that, but I'm not sure gamers enjoy the thought that they're going to be extracted. Well, all the money is going to be extracted out of their pockets. But yeah, Starfield, looking at the new footage as they were promoting the latest update, which still isn't probably anything to write home about, it does highlight something though, as far as the direction Bethesda seems to be going in its later developments. It did seem to me be much more action-based, much more first-person shooter, and effectively Starfield has 60, 70, maybe even 80% of its textures and objects that it would craft and show can overlap with what a Fallout game can be. The only difference is Starfield would have the technology look clean and brand new, where then you would just add a new texture, but you wouldn't have to redo the 3D modeling for Fallout, where you just add layers of destruction. And inherently, you could get an overlap where Starfield could have brand new walls and textures that then would be destroyed if you shot at them and get damage. And so then it would only be a small difference. The only real problem with that thought is the only real problem with that thought is that the idea that 3D modeling would be separate from the development of an object, and doesn't inherently have to be a separate part of the development of objects nowadays. You may very well make objects in the same Blender software, and textures may very well be fairly similar. See, I don't know if that gun is supposed to be here or if that was just a gun that was blown by the rockets into the corner of the map. Overall, it probably still is a case that textures and 3D models are fairly separate, and they definitely are separable. I'm not going to get up here. The flowing of water here is interesting. It's quite a lot of flows. You would think this whole thing would just flood. Am I going the right way, or am I going the wrong way, or sideways? Red means what? Missiles? Is that the trick? As it always meant, if you follow red, you find a nuke. It's getting really dark in here. Interesting. So we have a collapsed fight arena. claws larger and more impressive than the lesser death claws. You might be able to turn it into a weapon you find if you find a workbench. If that's the case, then that would be the first instance of being able to craft anything, and we're approaching the end of this whole DLC. This is not the DLC I was expecting that would lead to weapon crafting. It definitely feels weird if we start doing weapon crafting now, because it almost feels like weapon crafting might be some weird post level 50 experience, which I would kind of love that. And I'm sure actual fans of Fallout New Vegas, which I can't say I'm really been turned into a fan of New Vegas here, but I'm sure they would love the idea that there is just going to be a whole new weapon crafting system, and with that you would hope that there would have been a whole new set of enemies you could fight. The other thing that they just added to Starfield, which I'm not really making an argument here you should play Starfield by any means, is that it turns what looks like random NPCs into characters that have bounties on their head, and so you can scan those random NPCs, find if they have a bounty, and then either end up in a firefight with them. This game in particular doesn't do anything with the unnamed random NPCs. Which it also doesn't seem like it really spawns in a lot of random NPCs in the cities and locations. There aren't too many cities anyways. Suppose if I thought about the main game a little bit more. I don't like that I screwed up the mission where you were supposed to save the prostitute, but I also don't like that there's a lot of strippers running around and I can't do anything for them, can't interact with them, can't talk to them, can't give them money so that they either are in a better situation whether they want to continue to strip or not. Like, I don't want the game to be too obvious in its messaging, but you could have it where most of the strippers, if given money or given other forms of assistance, would choose to do something quote unquote more respectable, and then maybe you have a couple of them that say they enjoy stripping. The closest we have in that is that you can convince one ghoul lady to become a prostitute, and then you convince some other people to become prostitutes. Let's see if we can just put the guns in. You can't hotkey explosives. Also, you have a left bump that says mod, but I don't think you can actually mod any weapons, any ammo. And since we took that little side journey, there are bodies around. I don't know if this isn't what Ulysses caused. Maybe I created Ulysses in its current state, but maybe Ulysses then set off the divide. On one hand, if the courier did cause all this devastation, it happened before you played as the courier, so can't really care too much as the player. It's just not your fault. Which is the danger, certainly, of having characters that would have their own history. I definitely would prefer it to be more revealed that it actually is Ulysses who's the bad guy and who's just lying. His whole history, I basically would describe them as ramblings. Just don't come off as coherent enough. I think I may have gone full circle here. Yeah. So there was a little shortcut that could have been taken. Maybe it's a one-way shortcut. Seems like it might be. Unless I can jump. Darn it. Definitely feels like the Lonesome Road here is going to be more of a experience of just walking over encumbered than anything else. By all means, I would much prefer a game to just randomly spawn some enemies. Just even if it's just an enemy around the corner. I doubt this game has any kind of vision cones programmed into its spawning, in the sense that you could say, well, the player's not looking over there, so let's spawn something over there and have them attack to just add some action. Definitely feels crazy that there would be 7 more nukes. But yeah, it definitely also feels like that's the case. And then I guess there might be a question as far as, are we going to end up nuking Eddie? I don't know what really the message is that's in Eddie's head that Ulysses wants. We're still assuming that the white symbol is moving the story forward. The white Ulysses flag. What would be nice is if, as you picked up more things, you would just auto-craft items, so you'll wait. Can I go back that way? Seems like I can. Yeah. But yeah, if you auto-crafted things as you picked up items and your weight just varied up and down, that would be nice. 100%. I do think if I cripple an arm, they may not be able to actually shoot as well, shoot as accurately, or just shoot by pulling off the trigger. Did I search all these? Do I need to search all these? Ah. So, a fully stealth void enemy just attacked me named Blade. And I could see people struggling with that. One advantage, of course, of having a explosive weapon, though, is that you can just fire it in a general area. Here we have Blade. As to what he looks like. A marked man with a special helmet. Blade of the West. I doubt Blade is a character class that we're just recognizing. If it were a different type of game, I would, well, Borderlands did almost exactly what I'm about to suggest, but in that I would expect that there would just be missiles that would randomly come down, or not so much missiles as perhaps landing pads of robots that would come out of the landing pads. And yeah, Borderlands did exactly that in one section where you would just have things fall out of the sky, and out of those landing pads, enemies, more traditional enemies that you could run and shoot, would walk out and start shooting at you. And so an empty area would then be very quickly converted into a non-empty area. Yeah, it's not even an almost exactly. I'm suggesting, come to think of it, exactly the same thing in this area. It would make a lot of sense for that to happen. And see, the rocket there that I just crafted is a drug, not rocket ammo. But yeah, that I suppose is your only two options. Either you have monster closets or cones of vision where the player can't see when they're not looking in that direction, and then you can have enemies spawn in those blind spots, or yeah, we're missing 3 nostalgia journals, which means we probably didn't find them all. This is as good of a place as any, I think, to see if we can now hit with the laser detonator. We tried to hit this from a much further distance, and I imagine it's just not activated until the other ones are activated. Or it might really be a case that my targeting was just really bad. See, I see what looks like just fire over there. Let's make a safety save here. And just see if we can fall without killing ourselves. I didn't really read those computer journals, but it seemed to indicate that this entire area had missile silos buried under it. And that's something Fallout, I guess, doesn't really cover or touch upon as much as it probably should. Like, you can't have a nuclear war happen if you don't also have places where missiles from the United States would have been shot to counter, or at least counter the threat of the Chinese missiles. It would be a fairly different backstory. It probably wouldn't touch the main story much, but a fairly different backstory nonetheless if the Chinese sent a bunch of nukes to the United States and the United States had like no military might of their own to counter that. Right, this is weird. This one here, I think, is being marked. I thought I saw it, yeah, here, with a white symbol, which tells me that this whole up and down section seems to be can I get in this building without jumping? Start with that question. Can we do the Bethesda wall crawl? You know, the U.S. military doesn't have to have planted a bunch of missile silos under populated cities, but one would expect they probably would do some of that. Still don't see any reason for the drugs to be in this game. Still can find Ralphie photos. Yeah. Well, there is a crafting bench here, so that might introduce an idea. We can do that, and then we can do efficient recycling. There's an enemy behind me, and every time I come out of the menu, I can hear it making sounds. Yeah, so here we have a weapon. Fist of the North Roar, a reference to Fist of the North Star, an old anime. So obviously that's going to give you a named weapon that you can only do once, more than likely. And I am intentionally just ignoring the enemy behind me just to see what would happen there. we have a one invisible guy there. Some Legion Daenerys on him. I'm not sure how many of them there were, whether it was 2 or 3. We are going to be almost exactly out of missiles by the time we are done with this DLC. I can't help but feel like that is slightly intentional. There's some enemy somewhere. And this interface is still like hundreds of hours in, and I still don't understand this interface. Does the laser detonator actually do any damage? And I guess a trick here that I am not thinking about could be, what if just possibly, what if you have to detonate all the missiles otherwise you get a bad ending? What if it is a case that there is just a nuclear warhead activation code that happens to be inside of Eddie's brain? Hitting the wrong button because I set this as a diagonal hot key, and that does not work. So is this going to be a sneaky little duffel bag, or is it going to lead deeper into something? Yeah, I think I just accidentally ate a couple of radixes. And see, I just don't know. It doesn't really look to me like there would be a path to reach that area. But as far as I know, we could be just going around in circles anyways. So we came out here. So it does look to me like this may just be a whole nother area. In fact, it might just be necessary. I was thinking that that was labeled as the straight path, but maybe it isn't. Waste disposal station, and we have a blue here. Still don't really think I'm gonna hit all of that. So here we have a totally T-pose glitched, hovering above the water enemies, although technically not in the T-pose, more just ragdoll frozen. Okay. No reason not to get distracted. So let's go see what's in here. We will run into another roar-like character. This could be a fairly long cave, or it could be nothing. What I find surprising about this is you see these nuclear barrels, and only some of them seem to actually be radioactive. I'd like an idea where the barrels prove to be useful in some way. I don't know what they could do there. They could have you be capable of extracting radiation, converting it into bullets, converting it into some other resource. Okay, it looks to me like we're gonna work our way around and then back down a building. It's probably premature right away. Don't think there was any way you could have jumped up there. This almost feels like this could be an over-encumbered trap, where walking slow. There's some thoughts of making technically radioactive batteries that would last for an extremely long amount of time. Not sure how many decades it might take until that technology becomes viable, and it almost certainly would be a case where radioactive batteries would only function to power extremely low power devices, efficient devices. Pacemakers had, some pacemakers at least, had radioactive batteries that lasted 88 years or so. And in that case, obviously that makes sense. But there may very well be a situation where the protective lead lining necessary for a radioactive battery will add more weight than it's worth for the amount of energy it can produce in short amounts of time. In long amounts of time, if it goes on for 88 years, then you would have a lot of power. So give this to the wife, Anna. Then we have it's just a lot of things here I've picked up. Haven't even listened to.
Mayday! 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 This is NCR Trooper Gleason, calling anyone listening on this channel. My platoon has been wiped out, and I am pinned down to Deathclaw in a place called the Divide. So far, I've been able to scare it away with flares, but I lack any explosives to kill the damn thing. Please assist. I say
I thought for a second there it might just cycle around. Okay, well. I was thinking I was gonna end up going up. But I didn't see an up path there. Did I miss it? This really highlights the problem of being over encumbered. Is that you've taken away the freedom of the player to engage with your game more. Yeah. Unless this whole rock is a secret door. There is no way up. Which, boy, do I wish there were secret doors in this game. Even the nukes, like, a lot of my suggestions and ideas here certainly are coming hundreds of hours after playing the game, but so yes, in fairness, I wouldn't have thought of most of this if I was actually developing the game or focused in on just programming a part of it. But yeah, you could certainly have peace symbols painted on walls or nuclear bombs symbols painted on walls, and if you see a nuclear bomb you would shoot it and it would set off an explosion of a buried mini nuke. That would be my thought. Yeah, have buried mini nukes in some walls and just have the walls explode. Then you could also certainly encourage players to shoot walls accidentally and realize that there are some secret paths. Once you introduce the idea of secret paths, then if I could jump, I probably could jump to this and could jump to that and could probably get up here. Do I think that there's anything that's completely necessary? It may also be a case that these barrels are literally just a wall that's been added later, so I may not be able to get there. Okay, well, I guess what we could do on this is fairly obvious. If I think I can jump there, if I was not over encumbered, let's just make myself not over encumbered. The hope here being that if I drop every weapon and bit of equipment, that would get me close enough. I guess I could just smash the A button here and not sort, if we are just going to come back and get it all later anyways. There you go. Would be a bit of parkouring though to get up to that. Yeah, and this really highlights what this game is not. It is not a 3D parkouring platforming challenge. And in third person perspective you can see those jumps and the lack of viability of those jumps. I think, a lot better than first person perspective, where it seems like you could actually make it. But yeah, your feet are much lower than I would have thought. So yeah, I'm generally going to assume there's nothing there. I guess we can just double check the local map to make sure we've seen everything. I think what I want to do is, we have a fast travel location here. Let's find a container. Let's drop half the stuff. Again. Yeah, and I don't want to spend too much time on it. I could certainly sort through a bunch of stuff. Honestly, it's probably better to drop things from the bottom than it is to drop things from the top in the miscellaneous, because you start getting the wrenches and hides and scrap metal, scrap electronics. Those are all things of weight. And then it's kind of a while before you run into other things. And it's blank books otherwise. That's the one thing at the top here you want to get rid of. These blank magazines. 34, just a couple more pounds. There you go. Good enough. And so then that'll let me... Interesting. I never made it to the water treatment plant? Guess we're gonna have to investigate that more. But my main plan was to do this. Come over here. Particularly now, the shipping of items left and right is going to take longer. So yeah, I would come over here, I'm going to dump everything here, and I'm going to then I'm going to just deal with all of that off screen. So what I'm going to do is pause the recording, then I'm going to deal with some other stuff off screen, and then I'm going to come back in a couple hours after doing this off screen stuff also. So I'll be kind of right back. Okay, I'm back. So took a little bit of a break there doing non-YouTube stuff, and then also sorted through what was like, it felt like 900 pounds of items to get to where I am now. I did finally find out what the SMMG mods go to. It is the shoulder-mounted machine gun, which, if we look at it, we'll give it a try, but you can see that it is using 10mm bullets, and it does 236 damage per second. Not doing as good as the modded K9000 Cyberdog gun, which, since this DLC was recommended for level 25, you would have expected that the damage per second would be higher. Although I kind of am getting the feeling that damage per second really doesn't seem to matter too much. So this would be the alternate gun. I'm gonna just leave the K9 dog gun, and everything else is sorted, so that leaves us at 70. The next thing to do would be, I guess, maybe see what kind of bullets we might have. We could do hollow point, damage would increase there. We could do hand loaded, damage would increase a little less. Hollow point. Okay. So it's a big shoulder mounted gun, and we'll give it a try. And then the next question certainly is to go back to where we were, which was this waste disposal station. And these guys drop downward every time. And then my question here, is it a case that I totally missed this section and should go back and get it? Or is it a case that you can't reach this way and you have to go up this path here and all the way back this way? And then maybe we'll just ignore Ulysses' Temple, because I don't think it's a case that you can reach it from this direction. And what you would like to do is be able to zoom out and see more of the locations, and see, like, even this buried buildings, I'm not even sure that location is something I've searched. I may have just walked past this door. So I'm definitely questioning just what I'm gonna see here. Was this the area? Yeah, we had already investigated this area, so we don't have to go back in here. So we do know that there's something to that. Okay. Oh, well, the move, I guess, is to follow the larger hollow triangle and see if we can find things. Probably aren't even going to fight anybody. Decent chance we're not even going to find anything. Okay. Buried buildings. You see radiation glowing. Does all radiation indicate where a nuclear warhead is? Is this more of a hidden object game than one might think? Yeah, I've totally overshot the water treatment plant. It's gotta be up here. Okay. Let's see if we can find the buried buildings section. Buried buildings, Boxwood Hotel roof. Both of those seem to be connected in the exact same spot, and I'm gonna make a decision to assume that that's the truth of it. We came down here. There was a thought here if this would be a shortcut. It is if you can jump. Definitely feels like I'm picking up a lot more stuff than I normally would. Okay, how is this playing out? I think we are just curving around. I think Ulysses' temple must just be up there, and then it must be a case where the mountain path just wraps around all over the place. So it's snaking back and forth. The waterfall sound effects are kind of an interesting reminder of just how quiet the rest of the game is normally. You just don't have that kind of environmental effect. Took me a while to be able to jump over that. That is an interesting point to point out, is that audio really can be fairly terrible in the game by just having nothing in it and being mostly silent with the occasional silence breaking sound effect, but most people won't even realize that that's what's happening until you have awkward 5-10 minutes of complete silence. Just an occasional footstep. Why did I go this color when I stepped down? Sneak sight because of Red Scare. What is giving me Red Scare? It is the Elite Riot Gear helmet. So if you didn't want this, too bad. You just get this because you're wearing a good helmet. At a certain level, maybe that would be a way you could balance what would be, by the numbers, the best items ever, is that you would have it do something visually that you might not like, or auditorial. They do seem to do that fairly commonly. Stealth Suit has the exact same issue, where it's annoying to listen to. Did I miss this metal box? Totally did. Should I be picking up everything from the metal boxes? Probably not. Let's see. Looks like you probably jump down there and fall down to locations you've already been. But the main story wants me to go this way. Interesting. So, I guess you just have to be somewhat careful to find the right path, or find a path. I don't see why there's radiation going on here, though. It disappears when we walk this way. It goes higher when we walk this way. And there we've got a nuke. Still definitely feels like there's a lot of these nukes to find. A lot more than I would expect to have missed. But you know, they're so dense in this area. All I can really do is assume that I am just going to find them all in this area and that I haven't missed several in the lighter areas. I'm also just going to have to assume that there is not really, see, this is red, which I think maybe means blood, maybe boss fight or coming. This looks like this could have been a cave. So I'm confused here as to whether this is sending me to, maybe blue means ammo. If I was to jump into the swimming pool, would I be working my way into that direction? We'll do that in a second. Let's go into this red area. Fall down. Break a limb. Does the limb breaking mechanic really make any sense in this game? I wouldn't say it does. It does feel like it is just kind of pointless punishment for trying to save time, which when you're creating entire systems in your game to punish the player for not wasting time, you really have to realize that you're way too committed to wasting and generally just disrespecting the player's time. This could go badly. Certainly, I could end up dying from a bunch of tunnelers or death claws. I don't know why they never, I mean, you see that error of objects just falling downward non-stop in multiple Bethesda games. So let's just let them fight out amongst each other. They're getting XP for those kills. Interesting. I thought this was a book. This guy looks like he was dead all along. Got a little bit of radioactive water. Tin cans. It's funny, you can pick up pots, but you can't pick up brooms. You can pick up giant, really heavy items. Here's yet another Ravager. But then you can't pick up tiny desk fans. You can pick up giant items, but you can't pick up a tray. Of course, I don't know what I'm really complaining about here, because it would just be a much worse situation if you could pick up all of those things, because then the game would, for one reason or another, encourage you to pick up all those things. But notice how I'm just getting a lot of knives, a lot of stuff. Not really even getting a lot of opportunities for the cannibalism if I needed to really engage with that. They're almost certainly under the cannibalism needs to be some kind of swinging status where you have to eat and continue eating human flesh, or you lose bonuses and get worse and worse. But if you do keep eating human flesh, then you will get some very high bonus. Here's a telephone, here's a ceiling fan. All examples of things you can't pick up. And I guess that is that. It kind of looks like there's something over here, but I don't know how I could reach that. Let's see. I also should have probably picked up some flash grenades. It would make some sense to use a flash grenade at least once. Okay. I don't think most players could reach that. And see, I don't get that at all. Why is there a glowing red dot on what looks like an electronic panel that would obviously drive the player's attention? Oh, it's a knocked over floodlight emergency light with a glowing red dot on it. It's completely uninteractable. And as this really isn't the game for parkour fans and for parkouring in general, I imagine most players would struggle to get to that spot. Heavily, also depending on whether you're over encumbered, there's no way you would get to that spot. And that colors the entirety of the level designs in the fact that you can't possibly include, well, heal our leg to see if that speeds us up just even slightly. Yeah, you can't possibly include any even small jump platforming sections. There's possibly a way you could, if you say had pneumatic tubes that you would drop off items. This feels like I'm walking basically vertically. Well, the good news is we did see that section. Seven more nukes. Now I'd be fairly peeved if I found out that when I set off the nuke in the middle of this whole very linear storyline, that was an optional choice and not something that was required of me. because I have no idea how you would have really accomplished that. Accomplished getting to the next spot. Okay. And yes, I could just walk here to the pool, which seems pretty obvious, like that's the next spot. I do enjoy the silliness of diving in the pool. Of course, being over encumbered. Didn't quite make it into the pool. And even that seems very game pattern breaking, because you just don't typically jump into water. Could jump into water. Of course, the rest of the game would have to be fairly vertical, way more vertical than it actually is, for you to even have jumps. And this arrow, I think, is pointing me to go this direction, but there's kind of nothing here. Let's see if we can check the local map. So this is just a sharp drop downward. So to get to these spots, you do have to snake around in a different direction. I was thinking that blue meant crafting bench, but then there's no crafting bench around here. So I now have to just slowly crawl back to where I came from. And then we'll go across that spot. It is an interesting question visually, as far as if you're going to use a big gun, how can you visually make that interesting without it taking up so much of the screen? I'd say about a third of the screen in third person mode is taken up by the big gun. I mean in first person mode. In third person mode, it's less of an issue, certainly, but then you have your entire body of your character taking up maybe about a sixth of the screen, so either way, there's a lot of space in which an enemy on the right side could approach without you seeing them. Game developers definitely have fed off each other on a fascination of rooftop parkour, or rooftop transversal, rooftop fighting. Which, yeah, that's something different than just having a big flat piece of land with enemies coming at you on said flat piece of land. Once again, it feels fairly boring to just be around. And I hear the water running, and I still am expecting rad roaches or something. This whole area could probably do well with some cazadors. Come to think of it. Just some flying enemies. Could also do rad roaches, could also do lots of other types of enemies, sure, but for all this verticality, having something that could attack you from heights might make sense. Should I go up or should I go down? Looks like the final path is down, so we'll go up first. I wouldn't say that the angles here are really making great crow's nests as far as a whole bunch of enemies appearing when you reach a spot like this. Compare this empty experience playing on very easy to even playing something like on very easy on the original Resident Evil 4. It's just a night and day difference. Everywhere you go, every room you enter, every few feet you walk in the original Resident Evil 4, you are being attacked by a infinite respawning amount of zombies. Not infinite really in that one area, but seemingly infinite in the totality of the game. Why not have that? Why not have some redmen just spawn? Or some tunnelers just spawn? You have even that realistic exception and explanation of tunnelers coming out of the ground. I'm still not really following the story as good as I think I should. As far as the red men, it seems like they're some kind of tribe that maybe has no loyalty to each other. Maybe it's just crazy in general. Is this a new area? I guess this is. And then they're cannibalizing each other, they're torturing and killing each other. They originally were all NCR Legion members. Is that a Ralphie poster? I don't think it is. And the thought is that the radiation alone might be keeping the red men alive. Which I would almost think maybe it's a... Nope, that's not a poster at all. Is there anything actually down here? Doesn't look like it. My thought is it might just be some kind of nano machines, auto docks, maybe a GAC even, some weird technology from the old world keeping people alive, keeping Ulysses alive. You can see the smoothness of that so that it looks like it's just a tube that is really poor. It's an old game, but it's a great example of what games used to look like and what used to be considered acceptable at any draw distance. Even now, there are a lot of tricks, and water still can be bad. Although we're approaching, I think, the point where water is going to be perfected or considered as good as it can get for reasonable. Yeah, I couldn't even run to do anything there. We're at a point where hyper-realistic graphics are very doable, depending on the type of game and how much you want to draw on the screen, how many objects, how many textures, how many triangles. Seems like that doesn't spend as much bullets, or it's just a faster process at least. So it really will just be a new generation that would have to be designed as far as ultra hyper graphics, or whatever I would describe it as. Here we have one that's invisible. This is the first time we've ever actually fought anybody who's been using stealth suits or invisibility a lot. It seems to me like, as far as graphics go, there's a uncertainty as to the next step forward. 8K, or 8K is not going anywhere because even 4K adoption is going to take a long time. High dynamic range as far as more colors and brighter colors, brightness in general, are probably the way forward as far as new technologies go. And those aren't really the kinds of gimmicks, though, that you sell new games on. You sell it on, like, ray tracing and reflections and frame rates. Deep learning super sampling is one they're talking about a lot. Almost certainly somebody's going to try and release something with AI in the name. Yeah, higher frame rates over higher resolution seems to be the way things are going forward. And so that makes me wonder if we're going to not have any next big thing happen for a while as far as video game graphics. On the other hand, the Steam Deck and portable consoles in general might be the next big thing. We've discovered Ulysses Temple. Have we? Or did we just get really close to it? No, I guess we've discovered it. All that being said, this game is so old, obviously there's a lot of room for improvement, and I would expect a lot of that probably does happen in Fallout 4. And certainly there are other games like The Witcher that are doing similar experiences but doing it differently. And it looks to me like there's nothing more here. Now, inevitably, it's usually a case that the end of these episodes of these DLCs are longer than I think they're going to be. if I drop enough things here, it's like there's no more locations to see. So what I want to do is just fast travel over this way and drop all the items in. Fast travel back, grab the rest of the items and drop them. Set myself up that I'm not ending up spending a massive amount of time moving things around, although probably could find a better time to do that off screen. We're getting lots of Abraxo cleanser, lots of cartons of cigarettes. I don't think cartons of cigarettes actually convert into anything either. In that entire back half though, it's not like you run into a lot of crafting benches, and we know we don't have Eddie with us, so there's no reason to really have the game give me this much. And we have no idea what the deal with Seymour is. Okay. So before I forget, I'll fast travel back over here. It's now nighttime. Yeah, we are still getting overburdened. And yeah, I could combine some stuff. I could combine some weapons, and then that might save me a trip. Let's see, let's drop all of these. Drop all of these. Okay, that's good enough. So, is there possibly a nuclear warhead? And see, now that I can actually see through the storm, that looks way nicer than when I can't see through the storms. I just want to think, is it possible that in Ulysses Temple there are 7 nukes? And roughly, I think maybe 6 or 7 Ralphie posters. Is there a way that you really could have gotten down to this area? And see, there's 2 ways you're going to get through this whole game DLC section. Is either you're going to be unencumbered and try and run as fast as possible and still probably not accomplish too much. I have no idea what's shooting. What's fighting? I guess you won't find any more commissary things. I could buy some stuff back, I guess, if I wanted to. Really couldn't buy all these upgrades a second time, though. Reduce weapon spread. Did I buy all three of those? And are they equipped? Yeah. And really you only get about 2 of those guns in whole game, as far as the shoulder mounted. Okay. So yeah, it would really come down to just how thorough of a game did I really do. As far as should I expect to find anything here? We have a respawn sentry bot. Which is not going to do a great job with my weapon. Obviously I didn't do that great of a job. Yeah, I think I probably would have seen if there had been a Ralphie poster. Here's the red glare launcher being teased, I guess. We're almost to level 50. So maybe these were the ones that got activated, but it doesn't look like that's the case. No Ralphie poster in here. I mean, am I literally supposed to shoot this? Doesn't seem like that's working. Why is there radiation in this area, though? That's an interesting question. Hollow point. Bullets may just not be very effective. Notice how the laser is totally in a very awkward angle. The only thing I guess I could really question here is maybe, just maybe, there's something more in this room. Well, the good news is this satisfies my curiosity as far as this first area, because this would have been the area in particular where we wouldn't have been looking for nuclear warheads, we wouldn't have been looking for Ralphie posters. Hopeville, in particular, is probably the most dense of the areas. Maybe there's something I missed in Courier's Mile. But yeah, you generally don't have a radar that's just going to point you in the right directions. Particularly for challenge items. I don't think you were supposed to be able to just kill all the enemies everywhere. Misfortune, we almost got a perfect shot there. And he's running to punch me. You would think that the nuclear warheads would stick out like a sore thumb. It would be impossible to miss them. I'm not sure. Not sure if that isn't exactly what I did. $5 NCR. There's a lot of red hues around these areas. So I can't just assume everything red is a nuclear warhead. Honestly, if we got the laser detonator here at the top of that building, and then there was a first nuke there, it definitely felt like that was supposed to be the scripted experience everybody would have. Now, as far as Ralphie posters go, that I don't know. There definitely are some places here where I'm just not likely to walk and search as much. This is a great example of how this could get bad real fast as far as looking for things. Ralphie posters and nukes. Nukes are supposedly giant, so you should be able to see them pretty easily. Here's a Ralphie poster, but we had already found that one. So, my other thought here would be that there's just more over in this general direction. I do see some radioactivity. Can't crawl into that pipe. It doesn't feel like radioactivity though, it just makes the red men way more strong. I know I missed some things over here. Didn't bother to walk around and pick them up. Yeah, the remaining nukes would feel like they would have to be high up somewhere. That would be my guess. Yeah, it feels like an invisible wall. I wish I could platform better. That's crazy, they would reward you for doing that level of platforming. You know, a lot of players wouldn't be able to do that. This certainly is a different way to play Fallout, jumping from rooftop to rooftop. I don't even know where I am, which way I'm looking. If they wanted you to not be jumping though, they can't really have you getting over encumbered, can they? There we are. We're at level 50. And since I didn't change my stats, I'm already at 100 at everything. Change my traits. And so this is the last time we can look at our things. What could we not do? We can't do neutral karma. We can't do bad karma. We can't do this because our strength was not high enough. We can't do this because our strength wasn't high enough. Or maybe we even passed the point in which we could have done those. And it seems like this one, as far as here and now, you can't do anything. So, would there be any reason to take any of the other perks? Sure, lots of reasons, but yeah, and I didn't make a safety save. Would have made a lot of sense to make a safety save before you leveled up to level 50, but whatever. But yeah, Mr. Sandman would be the option, or we take the reset of Thought You're Dead. Thought You're Dead, your storied past from the fallen has fallen from memory, causing everyone, because everyone thought you were dead. Your karma is reset, you inflict 10% damage, and for every 100 points of karma you gain 10 health. You're immune to critical hits. That's kind of a nice thing to take, but actually think I'm gonna take Sandman. At least that's something that's more in my control, and it is at least something to play with. Where is it? By the way, have I already taken it? Nope, here we are, Mr. Sandman. So now we can kill basically NPC characters while they're asleep. Yeah. I do kind of just wonder. Apparently auto inject stimpaks don't fix your crippled situation. From the looks of it, I'm not gaining any more XP. Yep. You're not seeing an XP pop-up. You're not. Which that I guess will save you some frustration visually, because it would be fairly annoying. Okay. Let's go to this marked men supply outpost and then drop off items. And then I think probably, well, let's see if we can actually just do something like that. That'll keep me from being over encumbered, and we'll just not pick up anything else. We're still looking just for Ralphie posters and nuclear warheads. I question if maybe there was a way to get up here, but I was approaching and then got distracted. It's not an easy way to get back. Check that. If I got up here on the edge, is it possible that there's a nuke somewhere there? No. Is it possible that there's a Ralphie poster somewhere there? Yes. Yeah, I think this really is just going to fall down into the realm of it being unreasonable to suspect that a player would be able to find all the Ralphie posters and possibly even find all the nukes, and only people with a walkthrough in front of them or somebody who's played the game a couple times needs to even concern themselves. Here we have a barrel just floating in the air. We've seen a lot of glitches in this game, like every other Bethesda game. We've seen a lot of crashes. It feels like you should be able to get into this building. And it would definitely feel like there should just be a indicator on the map of any nuke things. And yes, I am just running through the entire game, and I know it's also going long today. Make a Ralphie poster in here. Have we gotten that before? Possibly not. Yes, we had. Do you see radioactive barrel? Do you see something that looks like it could have been a path? Just trying to keep my eyes up. Can we ignore these guys? Problem here. Didn't realize these were this big either. I think I'm taking damage here. I think I got stuck on the floor and started taking damage. So this is the one place where the NCR was before they got turned into marked men. So despite, with the exception of defensive purposes, there's kind of no reason to even shoot these guys. Well, defensive purposes and I guess challenges. Yeah, challenges would also be a reason if you're actually making progress towards any challenges. But in a game like Borderlands, you would have a quest board that would have said kill 100 tunnelers or clean out the tunnels. Here, I'm really having to make my own entertainment and go back to this area, and I'm a little surprised there's even enemies in this area. And I wonder if I'm maybe accidentally just setting the stage very nicely for what would be the end of this DLC, where I might just be over encumbered by a bunch of items and it may want me to just walk back through everything with enemies attacking me. I may now end up just walking back through everything over encumbered with no enemies attacking me. The auto stim packs don't feel like they activate quick enough. And this is going to be the hardest, because the question is just going to be, can I jump down here or will I instantly die? Or am I supposed to just target nukes from the edges? It really just doesn't seem like there's anything down there if I am supposed to be falling down that direction. Then this commissary. I'm not sure this commissary has the same things or different things. Seems like it kind of has a standard collection of things in it. So items I may have sold, hopefully, were not important items. Yeah. Okay, let's make a safety save. Notice you can't label any saves. Anything, so the save I last created manually would be the closest one. So yeah, this is not allowing me to fall down here. Looks like a invisible wall. I imagine there isn't an invisible wall down here, but there is just instant death. So yeah, I don't know how much further I really need to go. Like, see, either a matter that I didn't look around much, which it kind of looks like I probably didn't in this area, or there's just a bunch more nukes at the temple, which maybe, or I missed a nuke at the Courier's Mile. The problem with the idea of a nuke being in the High Mile is that if there was a nuke in the High Mile, it would have to be fairly obvious, and it would have to reveal some extra rewards. Is an interesting thought as far as just how much damage does this really do to a death bar. Not particularly a lot. That was a decent amount of bullets necessary. Okay. There's some buildings down here that seem like they could be something, but they're still fairly minimalistic. Yeah, this is really just a huge waste of time. Why did I pick that up? Let's see. Takes too much time to even decide what to put away. I definitely feel like this is the experience players are going to feel, that the game would just end at Ulysses Temple. Maybe there's exactly one more Ralphie poster that needs to be looked at. Maybe Ulysses Temple is a lot bigger than it looks on the overworld map. Those are all possibilities, certainly. Absolutely no sound playing at all. as these things run towards me. Just one basic death sound. It just gives the feeling that the developers of this game really just didn't even play it as they were developing it, and instead were following just rigid rules of characters should have a death sound, characters should have a walking sound, without getting down into more details as far as saying that characters should also have an attacking sound and should make some noise. Yep. See, looking down here, let's not fall to our death. It does just feel like that is way more decorated than the rest of the ground areas. There's just a lot more going on there. And so with that, I think I pretty much have to give up. Yeah. As far as just a quick recap of the small amount of square footage we've traveled this whole way. I didn't walk down here as far as yeah, how many times am I gonna let the same thing happen to me? Yeah, and at this point, I definitely would have been looking all around for Ralphie posters and all of that. Yeah. Okay, well, the question to ask here, I think was I was going to fast travel to the other area, but I'll do all of that off screen. Yeah. The last question I guess we could really ask is, since these are our quest here just says traverse the divide, find Ulysses. We don't have anything else here. We could do like ran away. This is all the stats we'll ever get, with the idea of Wild Wasteland probably not helping us much. We didn't reset our relationship with NCR, which does mean that we still probably can't do this quest or this quest. But as far as the main game, we're just done with that already. What I want is challenges, and where do they hide the challenges? What I have set myself up for is I can still do Pants Exploded. I could always have done that. I just haven't succeeded. I still have not created a single weapon, even though I did craft a single weapon. So I don't know what that really comes from. I'll never be able to do paralyzing punches because I didn't get that skill. That would have been another one. I can eat corpses. But see, each of these numbers and counters indicate that those are supposed to be important things that you would have done a lot, and It's not really the case. Let's see. Challenges, here we go. Under miscellaneous. Some of these things definitely can't be done at this point in the game, so I'm not sure if these are really achievements. Speaking of achievements, I have 46 of 75, so I don't suspect I'm going to get all of them. Some of these achievements definitely feel like they just reset, or some of these challenges seem like they reset over and over again. Maybe, maybe not. And then cripple right arms with shotguns. I'm trying to find the ones that would specifically be around this DLC. But for all I know, it is just in the middle of everything else. These quests seem like they are from Old World Blues. Maybe. Ulysses Odyssey. Okay, well, discover all of Ulysses' past. We may get that one done. Find all the journal entries of the Divide. We may get that one done. Haven't found any survivalist bounty caches, so that's probably a different DLC. Most likely to. Uncovered all 6 references to your past, to the past of Courier 6, your past. I'm probably not going to do that one. Dressed in a complete set of Dr. Klein's clothes. You could do that. Ackmore terminals. That might be difficult. But yeah, feel like a kid again here is 14 out of 20. So there's 6 posters I've missed from the looks of it. How many mines would I need to disable? 18. Dead Man's Hand. Collect CR Madre cards of the Dead Man's Hand. Interesting. Apply more mods. But I can't find the nuke here. I can't find the nuke quest. But I think it's somewhere around 6 that we somehow have missed. And I suppose it is possible, as we wrap up here, that there could just be a whole nother path. It still is weird that there's nothing here, and there's room around here in these sections to have some more areas to investigate. And yeah, I'm not super interested in the story. This DLC has been an interesting experiment in more verticality, more linearity in the levels, more of a serious story, which I kind of think Fallout shouldn't have serious stories. But yeah, it still has a problem of having like 3 different stories going on at the same time, and it being kind of confusing if you're not paying attention, which I'm not, and just a lot of repetitive enemies and a lot of boring sections where there's nothing happening. Still may be my fault for that, that I am playing in very easy, but it's still also partly the game's fault that very easy means boring, when very easy should just mean it's the same amount of enemies with more health or less health or whatever would make it easier. Anyways, that's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. Thanks.